Good morning everyone and welcome back to my channel. So Journal of Stitchery, Roxy Journal of Stitchery, Volume 7, The Still Life. So today's video is to bring you up to speed of where I'm at with each of my flowers. Some of them I'm a bit stumped on, others are coming along nicely. So just thought I'd talk you through each one of them and where I'm at. It might happen to help you with some decisions you're making with your flowers. So in the last video, I started working on this flower here. He is now completed. I did rearrange him somewhat. These little elements that I was stitching pretty much stayed where they were. This one didn't. He's an unusual flower. It's like he's got two centers. I don't know if it's because this section here is peeling out, so that looked like a center, and then there was a bit of a center over here. And I just felt like I was chasing two centers with my building up of the different elements. So I ended up moving this little one, which was over here, more here, and building up around it. So that's when I got to a stage where I'm like, if your flower doesn't look quite right, it might be because you're building up something that doesn't occur naturally. Does that make sense? Like this one looked like it had two centers. So probably, what am I trying to say? The artist made it look like it was just a turned out leaf over here and this was the center. But when I started adding all my texture, I was emphasizing it so much that it did look like the center of the flower was in two locations. So I sort of had to stop for a moment and go, why are you looking so disjointed and looking like a blob and no longer a bloom? And that's when I clicked what was going on. So you can see beading in here. Let me zoom in a little bit. You see the beading and the blue stitching. That I left, but I came very close to pulling it out, and I thought if I don't leave it there, it just gives it a little bit of interest. But that's me building up a center that didn't exist. That was just a turned out leaf. The center was over here. Does that make sense? So just watch your flowers. If they're starting to look a little bit lopsided or heavy or something, it might be because you've lost the blossom, the feel of a blossom. So that's what happened with him. Once I sort of understood what I was doing with these particular flowers, this one came together beautifully. Just focused on this nice luscious center, and then my stitching sort of radiated out from it. I did a overcast stitch, short and long stitch, whip stitch, bit of everything around the edges of the petals, making it variegated. I didn't want that single line all the way around outlined. I sort of wanted it to look a little, well, the whole thing for my piece is I really want the texture, and I thought this was a lovely way of getting it. The thread I ended up using, I had to go and find one that suited. I just didn't have this tone. I had that one, but not that one. So I dropped into Dewdrop In and picked up this little guy. It's a number 5, so it's nice and chunky too. And that's what that edge is. What else did I do? I added in some vintage lace. I grabbed this little piece, and there's all sorts of little elements in here I can use. And just the one lace through the whole piece will give me a little bit of consistency. So from those little edges to those shapes, and then these little flowers. So that little piece has joined my collection. I haven't gone crazy on the lace. I've tried to keep it simple but detailed. Does that make sense? I don't think anything makes sense at the moment. I've been peeling beads out. I'll show you what I'm thinking, but I'm stumped a little bit. See that flower there? Let me bring it up. I've stitched all of the dark areas, leaving the pale blue and the white. And I'm going to stop at that because the little flower has just come to life. It's very dark in the camera when I look up at the TV, but I love it, absolutely love it. And I love the fact that the white is in there to help define those petals. So the blue is also on this guy. I'm still thinking about what to do in here. I might end up building up that texture to come out a little further, is sort of what I'm thinking. But at the moment, I've got that little cluster sitting there. I could easily bring a little bit more out to make that a little bit more pronounced. And here you can see where I've been stitching the blue and where it isn't stitched. So it's really made those flowers pop. So happy with him. Not sure what I'll do on that green. Not a fan of it. Whether I can find some green beads to create something. I was thinking about, is it drizzle stitch where you wrap, bullion stitch. Yeah, bullion. Wrap a heap of I've gone blank. I keep thinking it's drizzle stitch. I'll have to check into that and show you the exact name, but I'm wondering if I can do a heap of those tendril-y type stitches in there to give that a bit of texture. I feel like it needs to compete with this thickness, so that's a decision. Now, just back to this flower. I love the simplicity of that. The sister flowers to that has this red rusty colour in it, and I just don't like it. So my challenge now is, what do I stitch that red? And it's a crucial decision because look at those guys. There's a lot of that red. So I started peeling out all my beads, and I was going through every blue I could get my hands on and seeing if I bead the red out. But I've got to be careful because that's a lot of beading here, which I'm happy to do, but it's got to be the right colour. So that's where I was at. I was having a little look at what options I've got with these beads. I thought I had more blues. See that? That looks dirty. Let me zoom in so you can see. Certainly would cover it, but it's lost. It's just not popping for me. So you are out. And in the process of getting these blue beads out, the entire collection of beads is now strewn across my table. But it's okay. I could do with a bead tidy up. When you do lots of projects and you're pulling out different colour combinations of beads and things. See, that's not bad. He was on my table from the very first video, so, but it's a different, in the camera it looks really good, but not so much here. If I can't find a bead, my only other option is to stitch it. And then it's like, what colour do I stitch it? It's definitely not going to be that rusty red tone. We want to freshen the piece up. These are really fresh. I don't think these are going to work either. See, I think the problem I got is the wool. Now, what was the wool I was using? Where have you got to? That's another blue I've been using in amongst these flowers. This dark, moody blue is going quite fresh. So that I'm happy with. But then there's another... Okay, finish what you're doing, girl, before you upturn it. I think it was a gum nut. Yeah, it's a gum nut wool that's variegated that I was using for those blue petals. So let's just say I have no blue beads that suit. That answers that question. Oh, there's another blue over there. Hold the phone. I have blue like that, but they're very dark, so they're not right. I have steely blues. Here's another one. But no, it's not right either. I have a feeling I have to go a completely different colour, to be honest. Might be one of those. Here's a container of threads from a previous project, and there's a bit of blue in here. First of all, where is the, there it is. That's the thread I'm using. Oh gosh, that looks bright. It's not that bright. It's more of a, it's a navy. It's like a, yeah, it's a navy. Makes it hard when you guys can't see what I'm seeing. Here's a steely colour. See this blue in that little piece of fabric there? I think that's where I need to head, and it'll pick up that tone. I sort of don't mind that, you know. What about that guy? No. Blue, and then there's blue, and then there's another shade of blue. Let me just needle up a little bit of this. I'll just take a little bit because it might not look right. The only other thing I could do is bring a little bit of white in. Cream. I don't know. Decisions, isn't it? I don't mind the fact that there's a bit of blue popping through, but mind you, there's not many blue flowers in nature, is there? Don't know. Let me zoom out a little bit, otherwise you will not see where I'm stitching because of the awkwardness of this. I looked through fabrics too, and I thought, oh, maybe I can build in a blue lace or something. Oh, I know where I didn't look. This might do it. It's a mix of the wool now coming in with the pearl cotton, which I don't mind because that can throw a little bit of light around. And if I can blend, because I really like the printed blue, if I can blend this guy down to that printed just long and short stitches, all I'm doing here. See, by using this guy, it gives me, I guess, options too, that I could do a little bit of weaving on those big petals. But it's got to have to match this blue here. This is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make it look like it's all one, but there's tones and textures on the way as your brain goes, oh yes, that makes sense. That's a blue petal. Otherwise it can be very disjointed. You sort of want to get that happy medium. I think this will do, you know. I think this will get me there. And I think if I do the wool around the outer edge of those big flowers over there as my highlight stitch, like I did with that, and then fill the flower in with this denim blue, I think it'll look okay. Don't be afraid to unpick things too. If you're just, something's not quite right, just unpick it. I don't know why I'm second guessing myself so much with this piece. I have a feeling it's because it's going to go on the wall. I was being quite flippant with it at one stage too, and I'm like, just spend a little extra time and get it right, because it's going on the wall, and every time you look at it, you'll think, if only I'd spent a little more time on something in it. Now I've got to thread my needle. Yeah, I think that, and maybe with that in place, the beads might work a little better, because they'll just be, yeah, I like that. See how that's blending? We're going from the fabric blue to this little shiny blue out to the wool. It is so not a royal blue like that, guys. It is a soft denim blue. Gosh, that camera is really distorting it. You'll be thinking, those colours don't look right, girl. They do. They're good. I think it's the shine versus no shine. All right, I feel a little happier with those flowers. So where did that colour go? Oh my goodness, now I've lost the roll of fabric. I wonder if that looks better. No. I'm just picked up those beads again, guys. No, they just lose their... They look so pretty in that container, but when they get to these fabrics, they just lose their... whatever it is they have. All right, there it is. I was just panicking for a moment that I'd lost my thread. So you need to stay with me and not get lost. There's another grey blue in here. So now see that's... That does bring in a bit of light. That might be handy with the flower in the centre there to bring in a little bit of, yeah, okay. So it's going to be a combination of those, and I might even go into those. All right, okay, I'm happy. Gosh, yesterday I could not figure that out, and I thought just leave it, leave it, leave it, leave it. So what I want to do today is do a little bit of work on this guy, but before we do, I'm going to slide my piece up here and have a look at this flower. That guy there is this fellow here. So I thought what we might do, there's only two of them, is get him prepped, and then I can stitch him down, and he is also done. So what I did with that, I want it really quite whimsical. So I cut 4 elongated pieces. Bent it back on itself, so you can see the piece is like a little rectangle. I gave it a little twist and then bent it back on itself, and it sort of created this layered little petal. And then I pinned that into the center of our little flower, like so. So once again, just an elongated, like a large jelly bean. Gave it a twist, probably 3/4 the way down, then bent that back. So it gave me a nice little folded bottom there, but gave me 2 layers of petal. And pinned it. So I thought I would show you what I did with that in case you have some little flowers somewhere, because I'm guessing some of you are probably over stitching by now. This is a very big project when it comes to hand stitching in all of these little flowers and things with such intense stitching. So don't don't stress that you're like, oh my goodness, it just took half a day to do those 3 petals. Maybe that might give you the confidence to try some other techniques to build up your flowers and things. So there's 5 petals on this, so I'm going to follow that lead. Okay, last one. And give it a twist at the 3/4 mark. Twist and turn back up on itself. Just gives you that little inner layer. There we go. And then, because I'd grabbed out that old vintage lace, that little flower is going to be the center. And then from memory I did the little, there we go, the little sequin that's in the shape of a flower with a little gold bead in the center, and that was it. Nice and quick. Oh, I might wait until your needle and thread is here. Have I got enough needle and thread? Nope. Prepared for filming, not. Oh my goodness, I tell you. So what do you guys got planned for today? I have nothing. I raced around like a mad chook yesterday, doing housework and cleaning, and there was so many little things that I kept walking past going, I must do that, I must do that. And I've just thought, you know what? And I'd been on the couch all morning doing absolutely nothing. And I thought, if I don't get up now, the day will slide by and I would have achieved nothing. So I was very efficient. I vacuumed, mopped, dusted. It was great. I think what helped me too is the wheelie bin needed to go out for collection for the week. And it was only half full, so that sort of gave me the added bonus of, look, do some chucking, grab out packaging, just, I don't know, stuff. And that's liberating in itself. And then I was outside and I mixed up a new brew of spray because I have got an infestation of nutgrass. If anyone knows how to kill nutgrass, let me know. I've been going and spraying, and then I gave up on that because it's just gross spraying. And some of it would die, some of it wouldn't, but then it'd be back. It's such an insidious plant. Then I was like, right, I'm going to dig it out. So I gave myself, I'm going to lift my chair up, guys. I gave myself, I guess, 3 months of just digging it out, thinking I can get on top of this. But because it's in the lawn, I get it out of my gardens, and then it's on its way and popping up again. So I have a feeling I need to get a little info on how to get it out of my lawn without killing the lawn. So yeah, that's my battle. Such a clever plant, nutgrass. If you don't know what I mean, Google it and you'll see how it sends out little runners, and then that's the nut for the plant to come up. And when you think you've got that, it's already sent another little nut. So you dig out this plant, but there's another one on its own, ready to go. Very clever. I have seen at our local hardware a nutgrass spray, which makes the little bulbs, I think it's got a lot of salt in it actually, makes the little bulbs explode. They like split. But then there's some articles saying how it doesn't really work. I was like, before I go and invest in it, maybe there's something else out there. So I'm sort of looking for more of a natural solution, to be honest, and digging it out is not the solution. It is beating me. It must have come with the turf. I've never seen anything like it. Okay, I'm just stitching down this little guy. Such a dense little lace. I can't even get this thin needle through it, so I'm sort of couching those petals into position. And hopefully I will need to come up through the center of it for that bead. Okay, now I'm through the center. So it was the little flower sequin. So we need one of those. Actually, I think there's some in here. Nope. So one of, gosh, it's hard to stay in shot. I'm so sorry, guys. One of those. Fiddly, talk about fiddly, and a little gold bead, which I know we have here. All right, something sounded really thick. No, we're okay. Just anchor this, and then we're ready to move on. Now I've got to do a second stitch in that. Degree of difficulty. I'm so pleased I left my piece detached from the main piece. It's been quite hot here, so the thought of having this on my lap was just not pleasant. So I can get a second stitch into that will be really good. There we go. Down she goes. So before I flip it and knot it off, I'm going to pull out my little pins. And there's my little fluffy flower. I hope I've got everything stitched. Yep. Give everything a little. Yep. That looks good. Might just do one lap around. I just want to make sure that that cheesecloth is caught. While I'm there, a few extra little stitches will not go astray. Now you could get really beady with things like this and put even more beads into the piece. Don't like the shape of that little guy. So I'm just going to, there we go, a little bit more petal-like with a little, okay, let's notch you off. The big corn cob that's printed on the back of this fabric is long, long a distant memory. There we go. Knot that thread so that when I pick it up, it's ready to roll. All right, now let's have a play with you. Now I might just reposition myself a little bit. I felt like I was leaning in a bit too much. So the plan here is to have this soft blue stitch in, but some of it might get covered with the collaging of fabric, so I might hold off on using this precious thread until I know what little blue bits are actually shown. And there's not a lot of center of flower here by the way this flower is angled. So what we might do is start building it up, and I'm using my petals and that net and that, and I've got the lace, and I've also got the cheesecloth. Okay, so here we go. Let's get you, and it's just by eye. I'm not tracing anything. I'm just winging a prayer. I'm catching a little bit of that glitter that is on the edge of these. These are poinsettias, well, these were actually magnolias. Around Christmas time, you see those flowers. I have lost that little shape there, but I'm okay with that because I will be doing a little bit of my own free form shape development. I can't even finish my sentences. You know what I mean. So that's a softer pink. So we'll lay you in there. But I do want to follow the guide of the designer. I might aim to do that little guy. It's a funny little shape. Sort of got a bit of an angle about it. That one there. Get that big guy there. So it's like a teardrop shape. Might use this edge here. And get you in there, like so. This little pink guy there. I might bring you over a little bit. I can always bring more petals in. Okay, so let's bring another pink in. Let's use that glitter on that edge to get a bit of sparkle into the center. It's not really a center, but we're going to be creating a bit of a shape there, I think. That one there's got a bit of glitter. I was looking at where this piece is going to go on the wall, and I think I need a light above it, which is just turning into a major palaver. It's just such a dark T-junction of a hallway in the main area. So I was sort of pleased I was putting a little bit of sparkle into my piece because, yeah, it was looking a little dull. I might now bring a bit of that in. I like how it's getting a bit of a fan shape. Now I might try and get some of these big, I can hear Gaz clanging around in the kitchen. I'm just getting a bit of a curve about you. Oops. Because they look like a cup. So I might put you in like that. I need a little one there just to hide that. There's a drop away there. So we need just a little piece to build it up. I'm cutting off camera, sorry. Just don't want a heap of scrappy bits on my piece. Yeah, that'll anchor that. Then we can drop that in, then that. You can see how there's not much of that blue visible. See, there's a little bit there, and I'd like a bit of that blue. So I might just make sure that is visible so I can stitch that out a little bit. I've got a bit of blue there as well. Are you in camera shot? Now I need another swoosh coming around there. Maybe I do it in the pink. No, I don't think I've got enough, but I think what I might do is chop a little bit of pink out and pop a little bit up in here before it's lost. Like so. Now this big guy, he needs to be quite a big leaf petal, and it's like got that cup shape about it, like a palm of your hand and your fingers, like that sort of shape. Yeah, that's good. Now the question's going to be, how far do you go? Do you then back this away and leave it as just this little burst of petals in the centre? So I could bring in a little bit of blue around. I'm thinking I'm going to leave that. Those are gorgeous, and I know they'll stitch up well like those. So yeah, I think we're going to leave it at that. So what we're going to do now is bring in a little bit of these fabrics. Do we want a little bit more of this? I think we do. But only a little tiny little piece. Just poking through there, just to extend that centre. Yeah. Now I feel like we need some fibres in there of this pink. So let's just nibble out. Let me put this away before it sticks to my arm and falls on the floor. I like how that's curling. See how that's curling there? Is that the right shape? Oh yeah, look at that. Just adds another layer in there. And if that gets stitched down a fraction lower, yep. So now let's put a little bit of this pale and that into there. Yep. Now where's our lace? The old lace, here it is. We might take that out. And build a layer there like that. Yeah, I like that. Keep it in tight, but so it's not interfering with that other petal. That way those two petals look like they're behind it. So I'll make sure I stitch that so that it's nearly turning up a little bit. There we go, I like that. Some well-placed pins. And then I can stitch. And I could then come back through and pop a few of the beads in like I did there. There's beads in there. The only thing I'm missing now is some of our lace that has all these little shapes and curls. So let's have a little nibble out of this. I love these scrolly shapes. So this lace is throughout the whole piece, and because it's a modern lace, but because it's got a bit of structure about it, that net is holding them beautifully. You've got to remember that your piece is on the wall, so as it turns up on its side, you don't want things flopping forward. So have a think about some of the elements you're adding. Will they need a little stitch to hold them? So when it goes up, they don't fall. And this lace, because it's got a bit of structure about it, I'm thinking it'll hold okay. And this I'd like to bury within, a little bit underneath, a little bit within. Yeah. Could even come down into there because it's a pretty little piece right through. Yep, that's better. Those three little dots, let me zoom in, I don't think you can see. See the piece of lace sitting there? There's three little dots there, then that leaf, and then those ones out there. So it's a shame to lose them in. So let's have a look. Maybe this is better to bury. I'm sort of looking for something that can be pushed down into the first few layers of this flower and come out over the existing petal at the back, like in there, just to soften this whole zone. I can have all of these little bits of lace coming out. I won't go too much further than that because to make it easier on myself, I really need to do all of that background stitching of this fellow. You know, all of that edge to make the flower come alive, and then have all these little bits. See, that'll be pretty when that gets stitched through there to show that that's a turned leaf, petal. Have that little edge through there. Yeah. Okay, guys, I think we've worked out a bit of a plan of attack for me. I have something to do there to get rid of that rust colour on that blue flower. I'm pointing, you can't even see. Yeah, that rusty colour there will be gone. I can finish you. And there'll be beads and then maybe a little bit of blue stitching in there. We'll see how it all sort of comes together. I haven't yet worked out what I'm doing with my cross stitch. I thought I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. Let's just get these flowers done, the blue flowers done, and then I'll visit these. I'm still thinking about my leaves. You know, the comment I made, why didn't you spend a little extra time on it? It's going on your wall, you're looking at it forever. you've been a bit too quick to, you know, finish it. The leaves fall into that category. What can I do to the leaves to add texture? So, but it's not a decision for today. There's no rush. Just take my time and enjoy the process. And there's the little birds too. So maybe the little birds are next and the leaves need to stay simple because there's just, you know, so much going on. I think once I pull out my 3-dimensional flowers that fill in these gaps too, I did stitch into this at one stage. I started thread painting into the embroidery element here and it just lost that effectiveness of the black simple lines. So I unpicked that. Yeah, so that's where I'm at, guys. I might sign out. I'm not sure when the next video will be on this. It's a slow process, so until I have something to show you, I've sort of just, you know, enjoy the process. All right, guys, look after yourselves. Have a lovely day. Bye.